everybody, welcome back. This week we're going to continue our talk and kind of thinking about patterns and patterns in art that we kind of started last week. And one thing that I wanted to really mention is there is just a part of our brain that is just naturally soothed by being able to recognize pattern, whether it's seeing a pattern in nature or seeing a pattern in a piece of art. It can be really soothing to be able to recognize that because there's some kind of familiarity, and there's a part of our brain that once a pattern is recognized, we're able to look at it, identify it, and in a certain way recognize it. And that ability to have recognition or recognize a pattern is gives you a lot of confidence as a viewer. So we're gonna see when we start to add to our compositions from last week, all these patterns that we kind of created with our shapes. Once we start to add to these with color, it's really gonna bump up that level of recognition for our eye of like, what are we looking at? What are we seeing? And kind of give us that confidence, visual confidence. So I also started making some other ones just here getting ready for this video. I used this box top. I made another pattern just really quickly. And this one I wanted to kind of talk to you about because it's one that we don't have an example of. This pattern is one where I chose to do the same thing but on opposite sides. So this block is reflected here. This block is reflected here. This middle block is reflected right here. This side block is reflected here, and this one that's kind of edging off is reflected over here. So this is a reflexive pattern. So it's where you're really reflecting one side to the other in your composition. And we didn't have an example of that last week, so I wanted to show you. And I just did it really quickly, having fun with a box top. So remember, the more you do these, the kind of easier it gets. You can kind of do them quickly. But the tricky part is once we start to add color, that really adds something. So let's talk about adding color. When you add color to a pattern, what happens is you can notice the differences between the two patterns, or maybe light and dark, or maybe one pattern is above another pattern, that kind of thing. So the first one we're going to talk about was this original one that I did just, that was kind of based on this MC Escher, but I kind of like it vertical, so that's how I'm going to show it. It kind of looks like a tire track almost in my mind's eye. So when I started this, I realized, hey, I need to just add one color and look at it. And that's my process. So the very first color that I added was the blue. I just added some blue. Every other one in there. Kind of giving feelings of that. But, just let's see how that looks. Then I started to add green. And you can see here, I started kind of at the bottom adding the green. I haven't finished up here, but that's already doing something to this pattern. It's really giving it a rhythm. I did every other one, and it kind of adds like something to it. I also did colored pencils. So I just used whatever colored pencils I had around and to color these in, and I layered it in. So at first the blue and the green were kind of the same level of color, but I decided to make the green just a hair darker. So that definitely adds something to it. I'm gonna put that right here. Sorry. Yeah, we're gonna, Kusama, we're gonna kind of cover you for a hot minute. Okay, there we go. Then I remembered this piece. Remember this really awesome piece from last week? I love how one color went from one side to the other. And I thought, hey, I'm gonna try that effect and look at it with the piece that I did with the trace scissors. I don't know if you remember it, but here it is. And I kind of did purple to kind of a pinkish to purple on the edge. Just inspired by that color transiting one side to another. But you can see this really changed how this looks. Also, this piece is horizontal, but like look at it vertically. Kind of goes in like visually. Isn't that interesting? So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I think it looks kind of interesting, and it's playing along the idea of this. Same thing, I use colored pencil. I just grabbed pink and purple. So I'm just limiting myself to 2 colors, and that really makes it easier to control the effect. As you can see with both these artists that we looked at, Escher and Kusama, they're just using 2 colors, and that's really helping the pattern pop. I think it's a smart design choice. Well, right when I said 2 colors, you know what I did? I decided, well, I don't want to do just 2 colors. You know, I'm such a mess. So remember this one that was traced from this kind of butter dish top that I used to trace it? First, I just started with one. I used just pastels. I had this box of pastels laying around, so I used pastels. First, I just started and I thought, hey, I'm just gonna add yellow, and I'm only gonna do certain ones. I think they kind of look like beans or lozenges. Well, I added that one thing of yellow. Then I thought, you know, this yellow's cool. I'm gonna try to stay and think about our whole color theory thing, analogous colors. So I thought, I'll do 3 colors this time. I won't stick to 2, because of course I'm breaking my own rules all the time. So instead of 2, I decided to do 3 colors. So I'd say if you do this, try to do 2 or 3 colors. I did analogous colors, meaning colors next to one another on the color wheel. So I did yellow, orange, and red. And I'll show you something that happened when I did this. So here's the finished piece. Should I do it horizontal like I did the other one? I guess so, yeah. So this is, here it is, partially done. Oops. And then here it is finished, partially done, and then finished. So what I decided to do was, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do the yellow, then I'm gonna choose some, I'm gonna color them in all the way orange, then I'm gonna color just a few in red, and I'm having it kind of travel across. And so that's kind of like marrying the idea of this with just coloring in the objects. But now I think it needs something. And here's the deal. I love these ones that are left white. I think they're working. So, oh my gosh, you guys, I broke my rule again. It's not just 3 colors, it's 4 colors, because I realize I've got to do something with this background. There's still background showing. So hold on a minute. Let's get ready. We're going to change the background. So I decide to add a Sharpie. I'm going to color in only the background in this piece. Once you add black Sharpie, you're not playing around. It really changes the whole look. So I'm going to show you this, and hopefully, does this line up right? I think it does. All right, get ready. Look what that black Sharpie did. I only had a couple spaces that were not the actual object. I love this tiny space right here. I think it really works. But then it makes the white lozenges shapes that I didn't fill in really work. So in reality, talk about breaking rules. This piece ends up having not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 color elements. So black, white, yellow, orange, and red. 5 color elements. So start with 2. Start with 2 colors. See how you like it. See how that works for you visually. If you, in your eye, when you're looking at this pattern, you think it needs another color, add another color. Or start with 2. Blend your background like this one is. Blend your background, then add another color. There you go. That's going to end up being 3. Or maybe you leave some of the scissors white. And that's also another way that you could deal with the issue. So it's a pretty interesting concept, because there's between all of these, let me put this here. Between all of these, we really have different takes on pattern that are all really original, but inspired by our original, we can see our inspiration from these original ones. It's kind of lovely. And then this one for this. Have fun. Enjoy yourselves. I cannot wait to see your colored pattern pieces. I'm really excited. I also can't wait to see like what types of objects you use to trace with. So remember that there's all kinds of things like bottle caps, the bottom of, look at the bottom of the glue is a great oval. So just think about that, enjoy tracing and really enjoy coloring. Start with 2 colors, then maybe add a third, and then maybe you'll end up with 5 like I did. Have fun.